Are there any films that you feel like you watched as a kid but you didn't appreciate till you got older?
The Incredibles.
I was just gonna say The Incredibles.
The Incredibles.
It is incredible.
Okay,
for sure.
if we're talking about balance in movies, The Incredibles balances both adult comedy, because as a kid I'm just like, oh, it's a fun superhero
Yes.
drama.
Yes, yeah.
And then as an adult you realize this is about a family struggling with divorce.
Yeah,
Like,
literally divorce and like a midlife crisis.
Yeah.
And on top of that, just the brilliant filmmaking techniques that Brad Bird uses. That is definitely one I did not appreciate when I was younger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd also say the Pirates of the Caribbean, the first trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
I rewatched the whole thing recently. Oh man, that is a good trilogy. Like, it's so good. The first one is obviously like very well regarded, but I think 2 and 3 are
I love the second
excellent.
one so much.
Davy Jones
Yeah.
is an amazing villain.
I love how they made him Scottish instead of, I think it's supposed to be Polish.
Yeah,
or
isn't
something.
it
Yeah.
Bill Nye?
Yeah, it's Bill
Bill
Nye.
Nye. Yeah.
Bill Nye the Science Guy? Dude.
Yeah.
Imagine.
And God, those films hold up in the CGI too, as well. Like
They really
like
do.
the effects. Oh,
They really do. Yeah, those are. Yeah.
That's one thing that I find, maybe just as a personal opinion of mine, like when films use a lot of VFX, it's like with a lot of films that it kind of can almost date the film really fast.
yeah.
Depending on how fast VFX advance, right? Like for example, maybe my favorite trilogy of all time, Lord of the Rings.
Oh,
I've been watching that
So
every year.
good, so
don't
good.
get me started.
I love Lord of the Rings. I'm such a nerd.
My girlfriend and I we watched Fellowship of the Rings on our 1-year anniversary and our 2 years coming up, and we're going to watch Two Towers.
The extended editions.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah.
I mean, you might as well kill a weekend.
Lord of the Rings is one of my guilty pleasures. They released like a Lego set of Rivendell that was like $800.
Proudly
I
on
need to buy that,
display in
dude.
your house.
I haven't bought Lego in like years, and
That's
I
what
was
you have to
like,
do.
well, the bank account's gonna hurt this month.
Yeah. Well, there goes.
But
a
I feel like
month of
that,
rent.
that trilogy, like the visual effects that I watch it every year, like the trilogy. It's like a tradition in our family, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, it holds up.
It's-
Like certain things that you can see, like, well, maybe not too bad,
Here
not
or
the
there.
best. But I mean, because of just the beautiful landscapes, that's all real.
Models too. They use a
Yeah.
lot of models.
Costumes and
I've been to the Weta workshop in New Zealand.
Really?
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, I nearly bought like some swords there and stuff. It's really cool.
nice. That would have been a little tough to bring back into Canada.
It was, yeah, just a little bit.
When they take your nuts that you brought from your home country or something.
2 elven daggers. This is
It's like
very
they glow when
suspicious.
orcs are near.
They glow when the TSA is near.
Exactly. Oh man. But yeah, those films, man. I actually did on this on the podcast. One of my friends, he hadn't watched Lord of the Rings in like 10 years. I was like, okay, we gotta watch it. We did it like
You did a
side by
commentary?
side. We did a side by side. It's literally like
That's
an
too
hour
good.
and a half. We shortened that, and then we did the Hobbit trilogy.
Yikes.
I mean, okay, listen. As a Lord of the Rings and like Tolkien fan, The Hobbit, it's almost like it gives me guilty pleasure vibes. Like it's just like I want to see it actualized from the book.
Yeah.
But like, did it need to be a trilogy?
Now have you watched Rings of Power?
Listen. I'm just happy to see more Lord of the Rings stuff. Okay, it had great visual effects.
It did. I'm a Rings of Power apologist.
Yeah, I actually listen.
I didn't hate it.
I didn't hate
I
it
know,
either.
No, people were like talking so much shit about that series, and I'm like, dude, like it's. I mean, you gotta take. I don't know. Maybe this is just the fandom in me, but you kind of just gotta take what you gotta get, what you're gonna get for that.
If you
Like-
want this video to blow up, this is the clip that you take and turn into a short. People love controversy.
Oh yes, I'm definitely doing
Like,
that.
don't get me wrong. There's some lore things that I was like, this is very strange, but I thought it was fun.
For sure. Like there's a guy in my archery club who's like read the Silmarillion like back to back and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like,
It's like,
it was unwatchable.
It was
for him.
unwatchable.
But like as a noob,
Okay.
as a noob, I liked it.
Listen, okay, this is. I don't know. I might get like crucified for this, but I think the Lord of the Rings trilogy is better than the books. Like way better.
Damn,
I'm listening to the
interesting.
audiobooks like right now.
Listen, Tolkien, great. great writer. If you like a paragraph for each sentence, listen. I love the story, but there's so many ands. He doesn't know how to use a comma, and it's okay. Listen, it was written 100 years ago, so I'll take it.
I can see what you mean, because some of the descriptions he has are very in depth.
He's notorious.
yes.
For
Like
that,
he's a very visual writer, which works for some people, but it's very difficult to get through. Like I hope,
Oh god, I remember reading that when I was 12 years old. It took me so long to read the first book.
if you want something even more dense though, I tried to start The Wheel of Time. Have you guys tried to read those?
No.
There's 30 books in the series.
Jesus.
30 books,
And they're all like that thick.
Nah, man.
This-
Who's got a wheel of time for that?
Oh!
I ain't got no time, dude. I have no time for that.
Not a single.
I
shred
can
of
barely
time.
read a book over 200
That's why I do
pages.
audiobooks, man. And the Lord of the Rings audiobook's great, but there's too much singing.
There's so many songs. Like, dude, put the sheet music so I can at least know what the fuck you're
No,
saying.
exactly.
They
like,
sing in the
They
audiobook?
say it, the guy who does the audiobooks, like, he
sings.
sings the
Is he good?
songs.
Is he good?
He's, like, average.
That'd be amazing if it's just like some beautiful elvish like,
That'd be
voice, you know?
sick. But he's just some British guy. Like, there's nothing less cool than, like, I'm in the kitchen, I'm listening to my audiobook, and, like, my roommate walks in, and, like, I'm just standing there listening to this British man, like...
Misty
It'll be like,
Mountain
oh,
School.
Tom Bombadil, his hat
Tom
is yellow,
Bombadil.
his boots are grey.
Dude,
It's
they
like,
need to bring Tom Bombadil into some...
That's the biggest flaw of the movie. No Tom
Dude.
Bombadil.
I'm like, I was like, where is he?
Where is he?
Come on, our whimsical side character who appears, you know?
With his yellow boots and whatever has had it, man. That song goes on so long, and it happens repeatedly.
All the
like,
time.
like they use the song to summon him, like four
Yeah, and
times.
he
It's the
appears,
song
you
of
know?
the summer.
God,
Yes, exactly, new Bob.
Yo, song
Screw
of the-
you, Taylor
Found the
Swift,
song of
Harry
the
Styles,
summer.
whoever is popping right now.
God, I'm trying to think of other films that I've watched as a child. I'm blanking. I feel like I haven't watched.
Nacho, you guys seen Nacho Libre?
No, I haven't.
love Nacho Libre.
I love that film so
I
much.
love Nacho
That's your
Libre.
partner's favorite film, or like it's high up on there.
No,
Nia,
I think so.
Nia
Yeah.
likes Nacho
Yeah,
Libre.
yeah.
Yeah.
Did you tell them they were the lordships?
Jack Black. Oh my God, School of Rock.
Oh, School of Rock.
That-
Great film.
Yeah.
That's
Good
actually one that I haven't thought of in a while. I love that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Black's just so good. So good, man.
I had an odd childhood in terms of like movies and stuff. Like, okay, movie wise, it was probably pretty standard. I didn't watch any of the Disney stuff though. We didn't have cable. We pirated everything.
Nice, nice.
Like everything. And so I grew up, instead of watching like, I don't know, the cable stuff.
Yeah.
I watched Gilligan's Island.
The play!
OG.
The play!
I watched Gilligan's
my parents
Island.
would be so
That's
happy right now.
Fantasy Island. So,
Is it?
Oh yeah, that's
Ah.
it. But like Gilligan's Island, Get Smart.
I love
with
Get
Dawn
Smart.
Adams. Like such a dated thing. I watched the Beverly Hillbillies. Like the first season of that is in black and white.
Awesome.
Like,
Dude, what the... Do you watch The Twilight Zone?
no, I didn't.
I used to,
didn't.
oh man.
Oh,
In middle school, we had a classic film club.
Mm.
How would you just go and watch like classic films? And they used to
Oh,
play
yeah.
Twilight Zone every once in a while. We watched Citizen Kane.
for how old the Twilight Zone is, there are some genuinely
Oh my God.
terrifying episodes
Yeah.
that
The one,
still
the
hold
doll
up.
one. Oh my god, that used to scare the shit out of me. And then the one where it's one of my favorite ones actually. The entire episode is basically they're in a hospital, right? And this lady's face is all wrapped up.
Oh, I love that. I know what you're
Great,
talking about.
just a great episode, and they're talking about what should we do? Do you want to change your face? Do you want
Take your face.
How are you gonna live? How are you gonna live after this? This ugly face that you have. But the only face you see the entire time
No.
is the person's face who's wrapped up.
Right.
But at the end, there's like, okay, it's time to take the bandage. The entire episode is discussing like beauty standards and
Right.
how people are perceived in society. They take off the bandages. She's a beautiful lady, like gorgeous, and everyone steps out of the shadows, and they all have pig faces, right? And it was great. And then they have the guy come in. You've just entered the Twilight Zone.
Wow.
Do.
I never knew this, but the Twilight Zone narrator, he actually wrote most of the stories.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow, that's cool.
I never knew that. I found that out recently. But
You know what's weird as hell as well? This is like so tangential, but every fucking episode of First Film the Twilight Zone has come up.
Oh
like
my
through some
God.
part of the director's bio.
Dude, I
Right.
think we're in the Twilight Zone, dude.
Yeah.
That's why
No,
every time
and
we film, we
like the
enter.
fact that it's come up on this podcast too, that's creepy as hell.
Yeah, 'cause
that's,
it's come
that's
up
a
on-
classic Twilight Zone.
Spielberg.
Dude, he's gonna come out the corner right now. You just
It's come up on every single one unintentionally. The Mad Max guy did one of the segments of the Twilight Zone movie. Spielberg, the Piranha, the guys who did Piranha, the first one, the one before James Cameron's one,
Yep.
ended up doing Gremlins and also the Twilight. It was
That's
connected
crazy.
to every episode. It's just kind of
shocking.
freaky.
Goes to show you how small the world film is, but at the same thing, how big it is at the
Yeah.
same time.
Mhm.
It's such an odd little community.
It is. It is.
Yeah. When it comes to that era, are there any like goofy like? Because one of my favorite things we were watching like the classic film club were the old like science fiction, like Attack of the Body Snatchers and the Blob, like those kind of like.
Oh yeah.
They're so like drive-in, sit with your girlfriend in 1955, you know. They're so stupid. Like Steve McQueen trying to chase after a blob that's eating people. Just a great movie. Are there any like guilty pleasure films that you both
Interesting.
like? But people would be like, "Oh man, what kind of shit is this? You call yourself a fan of film?" Like all like the snobs would laugh at.
I think of most of my films that I like are what
Some
people.
Guilty pleasure, nice.
Man,
I-
yeah.
I love Dirty Dancing.
Dirty Dancing. Interesting.
Dirty Dancing.
I
okay.
love Grease. I love.
Grease.
Oh God, there's a lot of weird ones that I really like. Oh my God.
You're figuring out how much to reveal. On
Yeah.
camera.
How much are we willing to say on record?
Before you get like crucified by people.
We've already
on
been
Letterboxd.
crucified, man, for first film. Like.
Oh, why don't we talk about the first film controversy on TikTok? Okay.
Okay. So this one requires us a brief explanation. So we did an episode on George Miller, who directed all of the Mad Max movies, and so every time we do an episode, we do our podcast, then we cut it down into a video, and then we also take parts of the podcast and turn them into like shorts for YouTube, for TikTok, etc. And we did this one. It was a very, very small segment of the podcast where we were talking about behind the scenes stuff, where we talk about the fact that they used a real, what we called a biker gang in the film. Like the bikers in it were part of a real Australian biker gang.
Mm-hmm.
And we turned a little clip of us talking about that into a short, put it on TikTok. Good Lord.
The amount of people that so that short blew up because the amount of rage that people had that we called it a biker gang instead of a club is unbelievable. And it wasn't just on TikTok; it was on.
Oh my god.
So yeah, for
but that's such a TikTok thing to have.
So-
especially on Facebook.
here's the crazy thing. So
It's all these middle-aged people like, I'm in a biker gang and I'm a dentist.
No, we did actually get that. Though.
Yeah.
We actually we got so many comments about it. There were other parts of it that they had issue
It's
with.
a very respectable hobby.
but there were also people in the comments disagreeing with them.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
We also so there are like 8, maybe 10 bikers in the film. We must have gotten like 20 comments from people saying, no, this is all false because I was in the film.
And
How
then
many people were in this film?
And then they would say like it
I
was
was in the
filmed
film.
in this location,
Yeah,
and some of it was just blatantly wrong.
So like
Awesome.
we said that the bikers drove from like Sydney to Melbourne because those are like larger Australian cities.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And we got comments being like they didn't drive from there, they drove from the Clunes to McDormand.
So like actually from Darwin to Brisbane.
It's like
and then we had a fact because
Okay.
like the bikers would just come in costume and wear like their props. They had all these prop weapons on them.
Yeah.
And we were like, how did they not get arrested? And then Bayden was like, or shot.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of people were like, this isn't America.
we
Australia's-
got Australian police fact checkers who were like the Australian police didn't have guns at this period of time. And we're
yeah,
like,
don't you know about the gun
Don't you
buyback
know?
in
It's like-
2005?
but then there were also people responding to them that were like, yeah, they did. So like we don't know what to believe.
Dude,
No,
this
but-
is so
But this was by
crazy.
far our biggest one. On TikTok, it hit about 280,000 views
so crazy.
before it got content blocked. And do you know
Yeah.
why it got content blocked? Because there's a clip in it where this biker falls off his motorbike and then gets kind of hit in the head with another. And all these comments were basically saying, like, you shouldn't show that clip. Like, that biker died in that shot. No,
Not true
he
at all.
did an urban myth, bro. He didn't die.
God,
right?
I
Like,
hate the internet sometimes.
so it hit 280 on TikTok. On Facebook, where I swear some of the comments were like exact duplicates of each other.
Yeah.
1.1 mil.
Jeez, you upset a lot of dentists and doctors who like to go biking on the weekends. You know?
We got onto the wrong side of it. Like, the comments are just absurd. 319 comments, and they're mostly just... And, like...
You check all. It's gotta be. You gotta filter by age. It's like 50 plus. Get rid of like 10 comments from anyone under 50.
There was just weird stuff because like some of the bikes that they rode were Kawasaki bikes, which are a Japanese bike.
Yeah, it's not like a biker gang thing.
Yeah,
and they got those bikes because they were given away for like free, or they were
Kawasaki.
Cheap or
I think gave them to the production to use, like it. And then we got people going like, some biker gang using Japanese motorbikes. And then we have other people going, what the hell are you talking about? Kawasaki's like the best bikes.
Yeah, they're like, well, actually, Harley Davidson is the real man's bike.
Like, there's some serious infighting in those comments, too.
I can see, after we had that blew up, why so many people make rage content. Like, on TikTok and
For
stuff.
real, like...
Because it... Like, you can get so many views just pissing people off.
Mm-hmm. Like, people will engage way more with something if they disagree with it. Like, way more.
Oh, dude.
Which sucks.
It's the same with, like, the opposite end of the spectrum, too. Like, you know those, like, wholesome, like, content creators on, like, TikTok who are like, let me go film this homeless man while I give him $8,000, right? And make, like, 10,000 off of profit or whatever, right?
Nice. Yeah, those people.
Yeah. Anyways, that was our little slice of fame and controversy.
Yeah, that's crazy, actually.
We've long debated doing a reaction video where we just go through it and we're like, actually this, actually that. Because again, like, even the comments are not conclusive.
Well, that's going to get even more views.
Exactly,
exactly.
We're like, this is our
It's like chance. Filthy Frank responding to hate comments.
Exactly.
And don't get me wrong, like, we get information wrong.
For sure, like, we have gotten stuff wrong.
At some point, it's inevitable because it just happens. Like, even
you're a human being.
As much as you fact check, and we do try to fact check as much as we
do.
can.
Like, most of our stuff we
sources.
check on at least 2 sources. Like, but we're also like, we're not doing this full time.
Yeah, it's for fun.
Like, the main part of the podcast is the bit where we talk about the film.
Yeah.
The rest of it is just to provide some context.
Yeah,
like those are the parts that people really hone in on.
That's great.
Yeah, I mean, we got a ton of followers off of it, though.
See, look, hey, man, I guess bad press is good press at the end of the day.
Any publicity is what they say.
Yeah.
Which is shocking.
Yeah.
It's just,
And because people will forget about that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like, in, like, literally a few weeks, they'll be like, oh, another video to get mad at, right? Like,
yeah.
That's the thing. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. Like, they'll leave a comment.
It's fucking TikTok.
The funny,
There's grown men and women on these goddamn apps that are like, actually, Kawasaki bikes for losers.
Well, that's what we get for posting on Facebook. Like,
fair enough. You're like, you go to Instagram Reels and you're like, add to Facebook. You shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, it's like, you have to know what you're getting.
It was funny at first because me and Bayden were like, well, there's no point posting to Facebook, and it's become our biggest platform.
No, for real. Like, we were originally only doing Instagram, TikTok, and then we're like, oh, I guess we'll chuck it on Facebook too. We have like 10 times as many followers on Facebook as we have on any other platform. Off of that.
They're like, how do you listen to this podcast? Do you have it on the BBC?
That's right. How can I tune in on my radio?
Do you have it on iHeart? Sirius XM?
Oh, jeez. Yeah. That was so funny though, and it was like a month of that happening.
Yeah. It was never ending, really.
Guys, I'm using this as my clip on TikTok.
No, you should.
I'm gonna tag you. It's gonna be a stitch of that. I'm gonna reply to that.
If you title it, they used a real biker gang in Mad Max.
Oh,
that's what'll bring him in.
Because our mistake,
first film body is wrong.
our mistake was doing hashtag bikers and hashtag biker gang.
You guys ended up in the wrong side of the.
The algorithm threw us under the bus.
There were people making threats at one point. They were like, "You stupid young people." Remember?
No, yeah, they were
guys
like,
"Don't know anything.
Want to talk about guns? Want to see mine?" It's like, holy shit.
And you go to their page, it's like some like 15-year-old kid or it's some 75-year-old grandfather.
It's genuinely disturbing how many of them had the American flag in their profile pictures.
I know, which is funny because it's an Australian film.
Oh man.
The internet is a crazy place, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
Wild.
It really is.
It's at the same time, it's like it's the greatest and the worst maybe invention in human history, right? Like, because think about how many films or just media in general that we wouldn't have been exposed to from around the world that we wouldn't have seen because of the internet. But then you have, I guess it's the equivalent of the Wild West, but in digital form with no consequences. So you're gonna get that kind of stuff as well.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I do believe that the pros outweigh the cons, but
For sure.
man,
Oh,
some of those
100%.
cons are.
They're con. Yeah.
Man, what's wrong with our voices?
They're like, these guys are so fucking annoying. I hate their voices.
We had like a whole batch of cons that were just like, it wasn't even relevant to the video. They were just like, this guy's voice is so fucking annoying.
Some stop. Let's put the video on mute. You fucking
Some people
dumbass.
were like, I wish this video had no commentary. Then what is the video?
It's just images.
Do you want like the annoying like TikTok voice?
Oh
like,
yeah, the
oh my
AI
God.
one.
oh.
This is how the biker gangs in Mad Max were real.
You know those like when you go on TikTok, how they have those like channels that are just recapping like the films like in their plot lines, and it's like
9 out of 10. This
it-
part was not very interesting.
It is a podcast. Like the audio is the main bit.
yeah.
There's literally only audio for the podcast, and then there's like images to go with the audio.
Yeah. Anyways, very fun.
Yeah, that's so funny. But yeah, that's one thing that like maybe just like in the whole, because like my last job was actually as a social media manager. So your boy was on them apps all day, and I work for a nonprofit, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
It was it's a youth HIV charity. So we work.
I've heard youth HIV is on the rise at the moment. I got an ad for that. Is that you?
It's crazy. Which was it by Let's Stop AIDS?
It was.
Well, there you go.
Damn.
That was us.
Look at that.
One of our friends' like family is like very involved in the AIDS community.
I thought you were
like,
gonna say they have AIDS.
no,
I'm
no,
like, hopefully
no,
they
no,
don't,
no.
because having AIDS is pretty bad, eh?
Oh no, like yeah, my partner's like uncle, he died from AIDS. Awful. But yeah, like our friend's family, like they were very involved in the charity, right?
Mm.
Yeah, so crazy connection there.
Yeah, there you go. See, that's how crazy goddamn fucking online marketing is.
That's right.
I've talked to Bayden. This is the first time we're talking in person ever, and I follow him on Instagram on the podcast account, and he got an ad for an account that I managed for a charity. Yeah. Anyway, that's how crazy targeting is,
It's fantastic.
Dude, there's sometimes where I'll think of something in my head. I've never typed it in or
And it's
spoken
on
it out loud.
Instagram.
And I get an
know.
ad for it on Instagram, and I'm like, how do you know what I was thinking?
It's crazy the
Scary.
targeting you can do, because especially with Facebook. What you can do, you can target a specific. So you have your demographic in any area down to the street.
Jesus.
You can target people
Christ.
who like one specific. Let's just say baseball, right?
Mhm.
People who are, let's just say, males who like baseball in the age range of 15 to 17, in downtown Toronto.
Jeez.
Now target people who are friends of these people, and you can also target friends of friends of friends.
Get them talking about it, yeah.
You can literally you can go as far as you want, really.
No, that's crazy.
Oh my god.
And it gets less effective, obviously, after a certain point.
Sure,
but like,
there's a drop off, but
it's pretty insane
That's
how
freaky.
crazy you can get with it. And when I was on, getting back to the whole like when I was on social media,
Yeah.
half my job was just interacting, right?
Yeah.
Trying to drive engagement, and just I realized the effects of like we've done an episode on like the effects of social media, and we did a little bit of research on it and just on our own personal experience. But like I already don't like being on social media for any reason other than just for my like projects and stuff. And then it became my job, right? And I'm there
Yeah.
to interact and I have to make comment. Like they can't be just bot comments, like just
Yeah.
just putting a heart underneath like a sad post.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It has to be like, oh, thank you for sharing this, and it's kind of depressing, honestly. I'm scrolling through it and I'm on the account I'm on is I'm looking through like AIDS memorial, like this person died in 1985. I knew him, was a great man, all day. And then I have to go on Twitter. First of all, X. Sorry, X. Dumpster fire of a shit app. Sorry, that's my
It
opinion.
may be the worst place on earth.
Maybe almost as worse as Reddit.
Almost as bad as France.
Oh,
Sorry, I have this inside joke where I call France the gates of hell.
I mean, they have been on fire for the last like
That's true.
6 or 7
Listen,
months.
I've had to delete TikTok just because I was like the dopamine, like in the short, like the attention span things it was doing to me was like awful.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, now it's time to delete Twitter. And the only reason I have Twitter is because of the TTC like
The updates.
the updates. That is
my
it.
God.
Yeah,
Because-
for the daily commute.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like there's an explosion on line 1, a stabbing on line 1 as well.
30 seconds ago.
Oh,
Shit.
wait, aren't I in that car? What the fuck is this guy running?
And then I was like, oh yeah, I can. At first I thought, oh, I can get around this because you know you can have those like apps where it'll send things from you to using like Twitter's like API or whatever. And then I found out, oh yeah, Twitter's charging like $100 per month for their API, and I was like, oh, so I just have to keep the app. That's great.
Yeah, it's crazy because like for me, I don't need another app to waste my time on. But like when I was on the Instagram, it was Instagram wasn't as bad, but the Twitter was like,
God. Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
And you're talking about the craziness on, I mean, the comments on your TikTok and on Facebook.
Yeah.
God, the Twitter, like, I was on. These are like, AIDS is really bad. Donate to support, save lives. Somehow there's an argument about how Donald Trump should be the next president or Justin Trudeau needs to be kicked out.
How does it?
I'm
like,
like,
how does that get
How
there?
is that related? Like, someone's like, fuck Trudeau. I mean, some of them are really funny because they're just like so out there. And
Yeah.
I click on half the accounts. I mean, there's so many bots
Yeah.
that are just starting shit. Like, especially for like the Instagram stuff. Like, when I was on there, especially like you go to Six Buzz. Dude, first of all, Six Buzz, they're the kings of controversy, okay? Because they ask some obviously loaded question. What do you think of immigrants? That's the first line. It's just like some video of some like guy driving his car into a building or something.
Yeah.
And the comments are like so rough. And I'm like they're so consistently like on every post, especially with like when it comes to the immigrants, like in recent times with like the students and stuff. It's like I'm like, you guys are fast, man. Like, it's instant that you're there. And I'm, like, reading all the replies. I'm like, half of these people literally have accounts that were created 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I'm like something's going on, right? I'm not, like, goddamn
Who's
conspiracy.
paying for this to be happening?
Like,
man?
why? You know, you think, like, are you trying to discourage this? Like, I don't know, man. It's just honestly depressing to be on there sometimes, right?
That's what's concerning about the internet, especially if you're a young person. The amount of like rabbit holes, like deeply concerning rabbit holes that you can go into that are like harmful to you as a person is so fast. Like I remember there was one time I got signed out of YouTube accidentally, and the stuff that it recommends to you.
Wow.
Oh, well, when you have no data.
When you're on no data on YouTube, the stuff it recommends
Scary.
is crazy.
It's like
actually,
open heart surgery.
Yeah.
Like a
Yeah,
guy
how
getting
to
his
make
head
a
cut.
bomb in the back of your car, like
It's like
Why is this on YouTube but my video where I say the F word? You
Yeah,
know? It's
like-
bad.
why all rights for all people who aren't white like should be gone. Like oh my god, who's making this?
Yeah.
Dude, it's like crazy. It's crazy what the internet holds, you know? Like,
Yeah, and you know, media literacy and all that, but like, you know, young people, this is no shade to them. It's just like how it is. But like to have the critical thinking to like process that stuff.
well,
At a young age, too.
Yeah, like process it, understand like what it's there for, and like avoid it.
because we were like one of the few last generations who didn't like grow up with constant social media. Like we got
It
it
existed.
at a pretty young age, but it wasn't
Yeah.
like as big as it
Yeah, we
is
weren't
now.
like
Yeah.
8 and had Facebook or like.
I didn't
had
get a phone. I didn't have a phone until grade 9.
Yeah, same
like,
here.
Same.
Yeah, right. And like that was probably off of the backs of our parents like pushing back against that stuff.
Exactly.
But like I think if you told that to kids now, first of all, they'd be on their phones. Like,
yeah, they'd be on their iPad like, what? You
yeah,
say something?
and that's not on them. Like
Yeah.
that's not on
That's
them.
my parents, man.
Yeah, like the idea of not having a phone until grade 9 for people like now is probably like completely unthinkable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy because it's like maybe a 5-year difference between our generation and that generation of, what is it, Gen Alpha. What? First of all, why did they get a cool name and we just get like a letter?
Yeah,
We get Z, Gen Z.
They couldn't even
Gen
give us like
Z.
a Z with like a line through it or something.
Oh yeah, like make it cool.
They should have gave us the cool S.
The dollar sign.
yeah.
Yo,
swag, the
Gen
swag S
money.
that you
Gen bang.
dude. Yeah, because we make no, we're gonna have to
It's
be renters
time.
for the rest of our lives.
That's right. That's right. Always on the grind because we have to.
We have to.
You have to be.
Yeah, but it's kind of it's nuts. Like how media is affecting. Even like I see my cousins, my younger cousins and stuff, and I'm like I don't know, man. Like I don't know. Has parenting's gotten harder in that sense? But like I see my parents, they're like it's like you're having trouble with like they have 2 kids, like me and my younger brother, and we didn't get that kind of stuff. Like obviously they had to be on our asses, but I'm honestly glad that like I didn't have the free range, because like who knows what I would have seen on the internet back in 2010, you know, like back then it was almost it was so much less
land.
Yeah, it was so much less regulated.
Yeah,
and sure, I only had 10 gigs of internet for our entire household. But you know, like who knows?
I downloaded a zip bomb. We're done for the month.
Oh, whoops! I went on with a live leak, saw Chinese man get run over by a dump truck.
Yeah.
Like,
God, look at us old people complaining about the next generation.
Reminiscing.
I know. Like, do you guys remember iPods when you had to pirate all the music?
My mom was a teacher at the school I was at, and like I'd go to school with her really early in the morning. I'd sit in her classroom on her like work work and I'd play Happy Wheels.
Oh my
dude.
God.
Happy Wheels days.
Great times.
That's a
Happy
throwback.
Wheels.
Yeah.
Flash games, man.
Flash
crazy.
games.
A game was a mini
Fonga?
clip.
Fonga Raise 2?
Oh,
That's a niche
Cool math
reference.
games in
Cool
this
math
computer
games?
lab,
Yo.
and the teacher would come by, you switch tabs.
Sorry. No, we didn't. We were like, it's maths, bro. It says maths in the title.
Dude, it says math.
Yeah.
We're in math class. Why be in the fucking thing anyway, man?
Yeah,
But yeah,
it's quite a topic change.
quite a topic.
what a topic tip. That's how we do it
That's
on the
how
Way
we do it.
podcast. We go for
There is no
all over
way.
There is no way.
There's no way to.
No way.
I mean, every path leads to an end, right? But sometimes they converge, they cross over. You know, filmmaking and crazy kids
Yeah.
online looking at.
Have you
Things-
considered at any point needle dropping the Mandalorian theme, like for this podcast?
This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the-
Boom, 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 boom.
Maybe I should make a song. I should actually. I've been debating making like an intro song for the Way
Oh, yeah?
podcast.
I had it. We had intro songs for. I did 3 failed podcasts before we did first film, and all of
Nice.
them had intro songs and segment songs. Bangers.
Bangers.
They
We
were
were originally going to do that for this one,
We
too.
were, yeah, and then
we
we're
wanted,
like,
we wanted to do a more
we're very professional.
professional. Yeah.
Yeah, this is real professional as well. You know, we're in
Yeah.
like technically not even allowed to be in this building.
That's right. But if you need us to riff off some songs, don't worry, man. We got you.
Yeah, we got you.
Sick,
Got
dude.
you.
I'll
Again,
sample
music
them.
theater, the confidence that a mom gave me.
Yeah, and no, I make music, dude.
Yeah.
Send me that shit. I'll put in the
Absolutely.
you know.
Throw some bongo drums. And
Yeah, some bongo. I'll add some nice electric piano underneath, some Rhodes, you know.
Mhm.
But yeah. Okay, before I know we've been here for actually almost an hour and a half now, but
Jeez.
before we go, I want to talk about what are some upcoming films or projects that you're really excited about, like in the coming coming weeks, coming years.
Bong Joon-ho has a new film, Mickey 17. It has Robert Pattinson in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Greta Gerwig's supposedly doing a Narnia trilogy. I love
Ooh.
Narnia.
Dude, I haven't watched Narnia in forever.
Anything Jordan Peele makes, I'll be watching.
You'll be
Yeah,
there. Kyle will
absolutely.
be there.
Yeah, I've got like a watch list of directors, and like that's my sort of anticipated. In the
Yeah.
immediate future, I'm very excited for A Haunting in Venice.
Are you actually?
I am. Do you know why?
Why?
It's because I was in theaters and I was watching the trailer for it, right? And in the trailer for The Haunting in Venice, they don't reveal Hercule Poirot until like the very end of the trailer.
Ah.
And this guy, because I didn't know what it was. Like it was just like a horror trailer, basically.
Yeah.
And I was like, this looks sick. And then at the very end, you just hear that little French wilting voice, and he steps out of the shadows like a freaking Avenger.
With
He's
his
like,
double mustache.
seems like a kiss for
Hercule
Hercule Poirot. And I lost my shit in the theater, man. So I'm
Dude.
so excited.
I'm gonna be
for
honest.
that.
I thought that movie came out 3 months ago.
You might be thinking of Haunted Mansion.
Oh, maybe,
Yeah.
maybe.
I'm also excited for Priscilla. That's
Ooh,
Sophia Coppola's
yes.
upcoming film about Elvis Presley's wife, Priscilla
Oh,
Presley.
wow, yeah.
Sophia Coppola's obviously made such incredible films already, and this seems like exactly the kind of like film she would nail. So that's a big
And
one.
it'll be interesting to see the different perspective after getting the Elvis biopic that we got.
That's right, because
Yeah.
I like the Elvis biopic. Baz Luhrmann, I will watch anything he makes.
Such a good guy.
He's so
Such a good
good.
filmmaker.
I don't know about good guy.
Not
don't
good guy.
don't know him. Don't know him
I
personally.
meant filmmaker.
But he's an amazing filmmaker.
Yeah, we don't know them personally.
We don't know him. I mean,
They could be a shit person, you know.
it's entirely possible. But man, Moulin Rouge, Great Gatsby,
Also the
underrated
Daniels.
too. Oh, the Daniels.
I've been a fan of them since Swiss Army Man, and then recently they did Everything Everywhere All at Once, which we worked on.
Yeah.
Crazy to think about. Yeah, I know.
It's just
That's actually fucking
like,
crazy.
insane. Like the Oscar-winning movie.
It got nominated for everything except sound.
Yeah, you guys fucked up.
Dude, we know. Now we know.
Snubbed.
Speaking of which, Last of Us is nominated for an Emmy in sound, so hopefully we win that.
That's right.
Come
Don't forget
on,
to put
let's
in your votes,
Put
everyone.
in the votes because they matter.
Yeah, man, so much.
Honestly, though, in terms of other stuff, I'm always just looking for new directors, new films. I love watching stuff at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And there's also just such a huge like backlog of stuff to watch too.
I mean, that's one of the things about being a fan of anything that's been around for a while.
Yeah.
like for me in music, like, you know, I've gone, especially when it comes to, obviously music you'll never be able to listen to, even within a single genre. Like, for example, I was like trained in classical, but then I transitioned to jazz.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like, I mean, jazz repertoire is so deep, right? And it's almost like you can talk to any person who's into jazz and you'll hear a new album. Same thing with film. You hear like, I've never heard of that director or that film.
Yeah.
But it's almost like you got to just take what you can. Take it with like one step at a time, you know?
Yeah.
No, exactly.
Yeah. It's like it's a difficult thought. Like, I'd like to believe that I can consume all of the good media in my lifetime.
It's
but I definitely
impossible.
can't.
Yeah.
There's going to be stuff I miss out on. It's a bummer.
Yeah. I have one reco, you know, like, it's an international film. It's called Udham Singh. It's a Punjabi film. And the thing with Punjabi media, right, it's very new, right?
Yep.
Because Bollywood has been the main thing, right, in
Yeah.
India. Another underrated is like Tollywood, like Tamil movies are really good.
Yeah.
But this movie Udham Singh is about like, Udham Singh was a freedom fighter for India just before partition. And it's a really intense, like, I make this joke, like, Punjabi movies are either like really stupid, funny rom-coms, or they're like, there is not a single joke made in this movie, it's only death. Like, this is one of those movies, by the way. It's really good. It's like, it's a political, and everything is a lot of stuff that's true. Like, most of the movie is true, which is insane.
Jesus.
Jeez.
And like, it takes place, I mean, I don't want to get into like politics per se, but like, the people of Punjab have very tumultuous history, that region. Basically, if you wanted to invade the subcontinent, that's where you go through.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of history.
British invasion stuff.
It's like, so basically at this time of the time of the movie, early 1920s was when another uprising became like for separation.
Was that the British Raj?
Yeah, so they ruled over India for 150 years or so.
My knowledge is very limited because my brother, he studied at U of T actually. He was a philosophy major. He's becoming a lawyer now, but one thing he majored in was like the history of India actually. So
No way.
yeah,
cool.
he's a knowledgeable guy, and just some of the stuff that like, because again, like that's history you don't learn in like, you know.
Yeah, unless you're Indian.
Well, exactly,
Yeah.
right?
That you know.
Well, maybe not even, right? Depending on what type of Indian you are. You
True.
want to learn about that
True.
kind of history, right?
I'm a quarter Indian. I have no idea.
There you go.
Yeah.
Damn.
Oh, you're a quarter Indian?
I'm a quarter
Oh,
Indian. That's right.
There you go. But that film is really intense. Udham Singh and Bhagat Singh were two of the most famous freedom fighters. Bhagat Singh was killed, so was Udham. But this is leading up to his death. It tells a story of basically from 1920 up until partition, or up until his death. And it's a really harrowing story, especially as like a Punjabi person, because like our people have always been in struggle. And watching that film is like, there's this thing called the Jallianwala Bagh massacre, which was basically, there's this area in Amritsar, which is one of the big cities in Punjab, and it was this courtyard where people would gather. And at that time, there was martial law in Punjab because there's a lot of uprising. And people would gather. It was actually on Vaisakhi, which is like a Sikh holiday. And everyone gathers, and it's like the day of the harvest, right?
Yep.
So everyone's there, and there was a rule of no congregating. So,
shit.
so but they weren't there for any sort of rally or anything like that. It's like families and like just everyone's there just because, right? 'Cause that's an area of gathering, and there's only one entrance to the courtyard, and there's this guy, General Dyer, who is basically overseeing the Punjab at that time, and he wanted to send a message, so he brought in firing squad and tanks, and they just opened fire, like for I believe it was 30 minutes or something.
Yeah, no way out.
No way out, and it's just it's literally a 20-minute scene in the film.
Jesus Christ.
Maybe one of the most like uncomfortable I've ever been watching a movie, because it's like it's not just like it's women, children, like everyone, and Udham Singh was there. He's the one. This is before he became a freedom fighter, and this is why, because he was a survivor of that, and it's his story of like trying to rectify all the wrongs that have been done, and it's a really intense movie. And I think it's one of those films that, even though if you may not know about that kind of struggle that happened, that you don't really need to know. Like, it's so apparent during the film, because it's one of those that jumps back and forth between how this person got to like where they are right now, like the present day, goes back to somebody he met, and then it goes back to in the past, and it's like just that whole kind of like two parallel story. Then they meet in the middle at like the current point, like the present, and
that sounds phenomenal.
It's a fucking long movie though. It's like 2 hours and 45 minutes, I think, or something.
Yeah. One thing I wish to kind of lead off of that for my hope for film in the future, because it has happened, I think, more prominently with like Korean films or Japanese films currently, but it's just for more international films to be like widely regarded, because like Western films are like pretty much the only ones that are awarded in America, and America's the center of the world, right?
Yeah, like to think so.
But just because there's like, if people got over, like, there's this famous Bong Joon-ho quote where he says, if you can just get over the 1 inch of captions on your screen, you can be introduced to this like beautiful world of film, because there's so many different cultures and stories that like we haven't heard and been able to explore, and again, like histories that are explored in that film that just, I think, need to be put to the forefront. And I really hope that happens in the future of just like filmmaking in general, especially for award ceremonies and such.
100%.
Yeah, for sure. Because I think we're slowly getting there. People are starting to appreciate it. I feel like maybe for the general audience, like the breakout kind of international film was Parasite. Like for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Of course, other international films were successful before him, but I don't think on the same level as.
Not awards wise, I don't think.
Yeah.
Or at least like there have been like foreign language films that have done well. There have been like whole waves of them, but it was like
French New Wave.
Yeah, but it was like French, German, like still, I don't know, European, like still kind of
so
safe.
Pretty Anglican.
Anglican, exactly, like comfortable. Yeah. But then there's like other parts of the world that are just really pushing the boundaries in like a really positive way.
Yeah, and then this might be a little, I don't know, incontroversial, but this is just my stance.
This is worth making a short out of, probably.
It definitely is.
You're thinking of the content.
There we go.
Exactly. I'm
ready.
ready. I don't give a shit. I'm ready for those TikTok, Facebook comments. But there's this push for representation, right, in media. And listen, as somebody who's South Asian, I always want to see more representation of people who aren't represented enough, right? But when it comes to a point of tokenism in film, and I feel like, or like blindly supporting something that is simply because it's representing one type of people, right? Like, the reason why I have trouble with that is because there's so many great films from that culture that we don't have. Why do we have to support something that's mediocre? You know what I mean? Just because we have somebody that looks like us in the film. When people from our own culture produce amazing films, right? And I think in maybe the North American kind of landscape, we should push for that too, right? Like, listen, I'm all for like your Shang-Chi's, and other films that represent cultures within North America. But I think it needs to be. We can't be lazy with it, right?
Yeah.
Like not to say that maybe Shang-Chi's lazy representation of Chinese people, but like
Hollywood has this tendency, just in general, to learn the wrong lessons from movies. For example, I can't remember what it was, but there was this okay film, and it starred I think it was like I think it was a Asian female lead actress, and it didn't do well like when it came out at the time. And see if Hollywood looks at that and they're like, well, this didn't do well because of the lack of like story or the depth. They're like, well, people don't want to see Asian women in cinema.
Yeah, that's often the takeaway.
And it's so unfortunate, but it's so commonplace that it happens. Like, for example, like the Barbie movie came out, and Hasbro was like, well, we need to make 10,000 more toy-related movies. Where they're like, that's not the reason why it did so well.
No.
Yeah.
At all.
Like, I mean, I feel like there needs to be some critical analysis. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I mean, when it comes to like for a film like Barbie, like I've seen it, right? I've seen it a couple times, and just, like, there's one thing about it. I feel like people take it really seriously, and I'm like, it's a movie.
Oh yeah,
like it's imaginary.
Really digging into it, like, again, it's a comedy, which it's hard to do on its own. It's tackling like so many different things.
And how are you supposed to do that in like an hour 45, right? Like you can't have as much nuance, right? Like people are talking about they didn't talk about men's issues enough or whatever. Like sure you can make that argument, but
was it supposed to do it all though?
Yeah, like how it's so complex, right? There's so much nuance, like. And people are like, oh man, the way men were represented, they're all stupid. It's like...
Men have been represented.
They've
had 100 years, 1,000 years of representation.
They're also just misinterpreting the film.
It's not about like...
It's not about the patriarchy at the end of the day. And how both how both women and men are both harmed by it. Like that's the reason, like how men are supposed to be that one thing and how women are supposed to be like that in that portrayal, which is but
that's why it's funny, right?
Yeah, you could talk about
that's why Ken is hilarious, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I didn't feel offended by them acting stereotypical hyper masculine. Like I thought that was so funny, right? That was one of my favorite parts about it.
Yeah, and also like this is like, not everyone will agree with this, but to be honest, like for me, the Kens weren't like, they weren't like men. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I mean, they're caricatures, right?
They're caricatures. Like they're not like men. You know what I mean? They are like a comment. There's something different. I can't quite put my finger on it, but like they're not in a way that I just don't think people will get.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make any sense. But like, I don't know. It's just such a misinterpreted movie.
Yeah, and it's like you got to take it at some things you can dive deep, but sometimes you also have to step back, right?
Yeah.
And just take it at face value sometimes, right? Like
I also think it is worth mentioning that if you have an emotional experience with a movie, I don't think that should be thrown away. I think it's very valid. Like if you get something and if you take away something from the movie, I think that's the most powerful tool that film has.
Yeah.
And I think that's definitely worth acknowledging.
For sure.
Fair enough, yeah.
Yeah, and like, and with Barbie in particular, I feel like you don't have to dig like deeper into it, but I feel like if you do, like, I don't know, I don't think there's an issue at its core. I don't know, even when you like dig into it like too much.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That could be talked about for forever.
That could be a whole episode and a half,
you know? I honestly, back to like diversity and stuff, I kind of, sometimes it feels like some of these like super woke shows that a lot of them do end up being bad. Like sometimes I'm watching them, I'm like, is this a plot? Like, did they make this because they knew that it was bad, but they wanted to like give
right there.
but they wanted to give some fuel to this fire? Like sometimes it actually feels like intentionally
like
rage
token.
baiting.
Yeah, rage baiting.
Yeah.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Like some of these shows actually feel like that, or they had like some genuine like heart and like creative people behind it, and those people were greenlit in the name of all this stuff, and then like kneecapped during the process. Like their budget was stripped from them. They were given no support. Like who knows what happened? But like a lot of them, like some of them do end up bad. At the same time, God, there's so many bad things like outside of them too.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just that
It's a very complex issue.
It's very complex,
Yeah,
and
it is.
listen, as an appreciator of this art form, like I want to see representation where it matters, right? Like I don't want to just like it's when this is just my opinion, right? When you have different types of people in a film, it's like film is about, show don't tell, right? Is a common phrase that people talk about. If you point to if the character is saying like I'm this ethnicity and I am this orientation, I am this, like the entire film, like that's not how people are in real life. They just exist within society, and sure, these are important parts of their person, right? But it's just done. I just don't like the way it's done in certain roles where, like, it almost seems lazy, right?
For sure.
There's a lot of films that do it really well, where it's like they're just integrated. Like for example, like a lot of films where, like, let's just say a couple ends up being a gay couple, right? And when it's not like, oh, they're the gay couple in the movie or they're the brown couple in the film, right? I personally enjoy that when it's not highlighting just that, because they're not just that. They're a complex person. This is one part of their being. Maybe it's really important to them, right? But I feel like it takes away from that group of people, because it boils them down to one thing, right? Like I'm Indian, but I don't want to see an Indian family representing every stereotypical Indian experience you hear about in media. And like half of it is not very nuanced, right? There's so much nuance within all these different things, and I know it's hard to get stuff right. Film is very difficult, and I'm sure when you're dealing with so many different cultures and experiences.
I feel like when it ends up that way, though, like when the diversity ends up being like portrayed that way, to me, all I see is like, I just don't think like a member of that community was involved with this.
Well, that's what I mean.
You know what I mean?
There's some instances where I'm like, well, this is done for profit.
Yeah,
like the most famous example I can think of is the last Star Wars sequel.
Right.
What was it? Rise of the Resistance? Or no?
Rise of the Skywalkers?
Yeah, something like that. Where in the end scene, they have like the big Star Wars, like everyone's happy montage, and they have this 3-second scene of the lesbian couple kissing. That's great. Now the issue is then they're gonna they delivered it to China. They cut that scene out.
Yeah.
Because they don't actually care about. We want to show representation.
Yeah, right.
Like it's just like we're doing this because we will know it'll get a certain group of people in our Western audience into the cinemas, creating more profit.
Yeah, it was a strategic placement. Were there any queer people involved at all?
No.
Who knows? Probably.
And they're like minor characters.
Yeah.
Like, and it's fine to have that, but like again, if you're gonna cut it out and then.
So meaningless.
Yeah, and it just shows that you didn't give a shit in the first place anyway. You just cut them out just like that, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's all about profit,
And it's also like this harmful.
Yeah.
Because that just gives the rage people more fuel, you know? Yeah.
Big sigh.
There we go. Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I think I'm hopeful for the future. There's growing pains with increasing, representation in film.
Yeah.
And these are the growing pains, right? Like,
for sure.
Where it's going to be some not unnuanced and not researched and bullshit portrayal of a certain group of people. But I think if we stay this kind of with this mindset, not just let it happen, right?
Yeah.
People should get mad about that, right? That's the whole point of putting media out, is so people can digest it and experience it in their own way, have their own opinion, right?
Things are getting better.
For
I hope
sure.
with this strike,
Things improve after
things
it's done.
improve, and if the writers and actors get more money, I hope that also allows a community of people who were not able to actually enter the filmmaking world just because of the lack of pay can tell their stories, and hopefully that means more diverse stories, more international films get made, or just
yeah. With the arts a lot, like if you want, when things change, when like movements happen in arts a lot of the time, I feel like you have like the status quo. You have here's where like this is like the good place, like that's where you want to be. To get there, you have to go a little further, and then it pushes back to that.
yeah,
Right,
yeah.
and I think that's kind of where we are now. Is like we're exploring the edge here, like what is actually good, and then we'll find that line.
Yeah.
And that's what we just need to reach.
Yeah, and I think we need to highlight films that do well, right? Like,
For sure.
think about, like, for example, Everything Ever All at Once,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
It's a multiverse craziness film, action packed, but it's also a story about a family relationship between the two parents, the child, and not understanding their experience and not accepting them, and then learning at the end, right? Like that was a beautiful representation, just in my opinion, right, of that kind of complicated relationship that exists in real life.
It's nuanced,
Exactly.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
It took a whole film to do just that one part of a relationship between a parent, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But
There you
yeah. God damn, I think it's been an hour and 45 minutes,
Good
but
Lord.
yeah,
Good
I
luck
think
cutting this one down.
yeah, I don't edit.
There we go.
I literally don't, so this is gonna be a long one, or maybe a two-parter.
Oh yeah, split
Oh,
it.
damn.
Make them wait for it.
I
Yeah.
will, and
Yeah.
guess what? All the clips are coming from the second half because we went deep.
We went deep.
We talked about bullshit diversity,
That's
wokeism,
The hashtags you'll have are gonna be crazy.
Dude, hashtag woke. That's gonna be the first one.
Woke, cancelled, Disney woke.
Is Disney woke? Hashtag. I don't know, some other political thing. Anyway, thank you guys both for coming on.
Thank you very much for
Yes,
hosting.
thank you for having us.
This
It's
is a
been
great
pleasure.
conversation.
Absolutely.
And yeah, you guys have any plugs at the end to the small audience I got?
Yeah.
You can follow us on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok.
That's right.
At First Film Poddy, PODDY, and all your podcasting platforms, First Film Poddy, PODDY. We're going to be making new episodes soon after Bayden releases the film.
Yes, that's right. So we've been on a bit of a hiatus because we shot a short film.
Yeah.
I'll say the preliminary title right now is High Future I'm Dad. And we've been working on that. So that's been taking most of our time that we would have otherwise put into the podcast. So
His most ambitious film yet, I would say.
yeah, and longest,
Yeah.
like by a bit. So it's not out yet. Maybe by the time this goes out, it will be. If not, keep an eye out for it. It'll be on all our socials and stuff like that.
All right, that's awesome. If you guys like this episode, you know what to do. Like it, share it, follow us on Spotify, YouTube, and yeah, we'll see y'all next week. Peace.
See ya.